everyone, this is Yoan and welcome back to a new video. Today I would love to share the Bitsy Bag Project. So this is a boxy looking crossbody bag. The size is relatively small, but it has enough room and pockets to carry all of your essentials. The measurements are about 5.5 inches wide by 8 inches tall by 2 inches deep. The exterior of the bag comes with a front zipper pocket and a back slip pocket, zipper closure, adjustable strap. In the interior, there is a mesh pocket and a zipper pocket. All in all, this will make a great everyday bag and you're gonna love it. Now let's talk about the fabric. For the exterior of the bag, I recommend to use mid to heavyweight woven fabric such as canvas, or you can also use denim or home decor fabric. Now for the interior, I recommend to use lightweight fabric such as cotton quilting fabric, or you can also use waterproof fabric as long as it is lightweight such as nylon ripstop or PUL fabric will be great as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Alright, the first thing that we're gonna do is to print out the pattern pieces. So for this pattern, you don't need to tile the papers. In total, you've got 5 templates, and the rest of the panels, which are rectangular shape, you can refer to the measuring chart that I give, so simply cut accordingly. As usual, the seam allowances are included in this pattern, so you want to cut each template as it is. When you're done cutting, don't forget to immediately snip the notches and also the center fold lines. And don't forget also to mark the top as indicated on the pattern piece. First, we're going to work on the front exterior. So you want to prepare the upper and the lower panel, the pocket lining, and also the zipper. So make sure to stitch back and forth at the start of the zipper and also at the end if you use zipper by the yard. On the right side of the lower panel, you want to apply some basting tape along the top edge, just like that. Take the zipper and lay that right side down. Apply basting tape along the edges of the zipper, and then take the pocket lining panel and lay that right side down. Make sure to match the top edges and the side edges. Once everything is secured, stitch with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, flip this to the right side, finger press the seams, both the exterior and the interior. Try to get as flat as possible, and then top stitch. Apply basting tape along the edges of the zipper tape. Take the upper panel, match the bottom edge of the upper panel with the edge of the zipper tape, and of course you want to make sure that the side edges are aligned. Now let's flip this to the wrong side. Apply basting tape along the edges of the zipper tape. Bring the bottom edge of the pocket lining towards the top, just like so. Match it with the edge of the zipper tape and the side edges as well. Now finger press to secure all the layers and stitch with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, press the seams and then top stitch. Base stitch along the side edges where the pocket lining is installed with about 1/8 inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, trim off the excess zipper, and that's it, the front exterior is done. Next, we're going to work on the back exterior. So you want to prepare the main panel, fuse the stabilizer on the wrong side, center the position. To make the back exterior pocket, you want to lay the pocket exterior and the lining with the right sides facing, and then stitch along the top edge with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now press the seams open. If you use PUL or nylon ripstop fabric for your lining, make sure to do this on the low heat. A little bit of testing beforehand is good. If your fabric can't handle heat that much, you can just finger press this. Now let's flip this to the right side, press the top edge, and then top stitch. Position the pocket panel on the right side of the back exterior panel, matching the side, the notches, and the bottom edges. Secure with some clips, and then base stitch with 1/8 inch seam allowance. Next, we're going to work on the mesh pocket for the front interior panel. We're going to use fold-over elastic to bind the top edges of the pocket panel. So from the starting point of the pocket, you want to fold the elastic just like that. So the top edge of the pocket panel should be sitting on the center point of the elastic, and then secure with a clip. Now go to your sewing machine and then stitch this in place with about 1/4 inch seam allowance. Match and hold on to the opposite edge of the elastic. Fold and slightly pull the elastic as you go so that it will fit the pocket. I recommend to use walking foot. Secure the mesh pocket to the front interior panel, matching the sides and the bottom edges. Pin to secure this, and then base stitch the sides and the bottom with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And that's it, the mesh pocket is done. Alright, for the interior zipper pocket, you want to work on it exactly the same way as the front exterior zipper pocket. So make sure that your zipper is the same 1 1/4 inch wide. The one that I use for the interior here has smaller coil, so it is a size 4.5 millimeter, but the width is the same, 1 1/4 inch. Next, we're gonna work on the zipper gusset. So this pattern called for double pull zipper. So if you use zipper by the yard, you wanna stitch back and forth at the start and the end of the zipper so that you won't accidentally lose a zipper pull. With the zipper gusset exterior panel facing right side up, you wanna stick a basting tape along one of the long side. Lay the zipper with the right side facing down. Match the edge of the zipper tape with the edge of the gusset. Finger press so that the zipper tape will be sticking on the fabric. Apply basting tape along the edges of the zipper tape. Now lay the lining panel right side down. Match the top and the side edges, of course. Once the zipper sandwich is secured, you want to stitch with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now let's flip this to the right side. You want to finger press the seams, both the exterior and the interior. Try to get as flat as possible. Now match the edges of the exterior and the lining, especially the bottom edges there. And then secure with some pins so that the fabric will not be shifted, especially if you use fabric that is a little bit unstable, such as my lining fabric here, the PUL fabric. Alright, once everything is secured, you want to go ahead and top stitch. So we want this zipper gusset to measure 3 inches wide. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna measure from the zipper side towards the gusset. So if there's any excess fabric from the gusset side, we're just gonna trim that off. And we're gonna call the side where the zipper is the front side of the gusset, and the side where the fabric is as the back side of the gusset. Next, you wanna stitch the sides and the back side of the gusset with about an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, if there is any excess zipper, you may trim that off so that everything will be even. Next, we're gonna mark the center point of the zipper gusset, so you can fold this in half widthwise, and then you can either mark or snip along the center fold. So you wanna snip about an 1/8 of an inch and do this on both sides. Next, we're gonna work on the D-ring tabs. We're gonna make 3/4 of an inch wide D-ring tabs. So make sure that you've got 3/4 of an inch D-rings. Cut 2 little rectangles and then go to your ironing board, and we're gonna fold and press this. First, you wanna fold this in half lengthwise, just like so, and then press. Now let's open the fold. Fold the long edges towards the center fold and then press. And you wanna repeat the same to the opposite side. Flip it to the right side, and then you want to press this one more time, and that's it. And then stitch right along the edges of the long sides. Now let's attach the D-ring just like that, and then you want to stitch as close as you can to the D-ring. Now repeat to sew the remaining ring tab. Position the ring tab on one side of the zipper gusset, right next to the seam allowances there, and then position the ring tab right next to it. Have about an 1/8 of an inch overhang on the edge, and then secure with a sewing clip, and then stitch with about an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to repeat to install the remaining D-ring tab, and your zipper gusset should look just like this. So we're gonna make a 1 inch wide adjustable strap here. So you wanna use, of course, 1 inch wide webbing. Grab the adjustable strap slider and hold it right side up. Feed the webbing from the wrong side towards the right side, and then back to the wrong side. Have about 1.5 inch clearance there, and then stitch a rectangle to secure this. Set the slider aside, grab the remaining end of the strap, attach one of the swivel hook, and then pull that through a little bit towards the middle. Now grab the slider with the end of the strap facing up. Now, just like before, you want to feed the remaining end of the strap from the wrong side towards the right side and then back to the wrong side. Pull the strap through. In the meantime, you want to make sure that your strap isn't twisted, and you should end up with something like this. Now grab the remaining swivel hook and then attach it to the remaining end of the strap, just like that. Have about 1.5 inch clearance and then stitch a rectangle to secure that. Next, we're gonna attach the bottom gusset. So prepare the exterior and the lining panel. Apply the stabilizer on the wrong side of the exterior. Center the position. And just like the zipper gusset, you wanna make sure to mark the center point simply by folding it in half widthwise and then snip about 1/8 of an inch or so right along the center fold. And you want to do the same for the lining. Now with the lower gusset exterior panel facing right side up, you want to lay the zipper gusset right side down, matching one of the side edge. Ignore the excess fabric overhang from the D-ring tab here. Now take the lower gusset lining and lay that right side down. So match the side edges. Now you can pin to secure them and then stitch with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to flip this to the right side. Press the seams, both the exterior and the interior, and then top stitch. We're gonna work the same for the opposite side. So here I've got the zipper gusset right side up. Now bring the remaining side edge of the exterior panel towards the remaining side edge of the zipper gusset panel. And then flip it to the wrong side. And then you want to bring the remaining side edge of the lining panel towards the remaining side edge of the zipper gusset. Pin to secure the sandwich and then stitch with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now let's flip this to the right side, press the seams and then top stitch. Match the center point of the exterior and the lining of the bottom gusset and then pin. And then you want to continue pinning all around. Once you've done that, base stitch along the edges of the bottom gusset with about 1/8 inch seam allowance. And there you have it. Now we're going to call this whole panel as the gusset panel. Lay the front exterior and the front interior with the wrong sides facing, matching all the edges and the notches. Pin to secure them and then base stitch all around with 1/8 inch seam allowance. And you want to do the same for the back panels. Now it's time to assemble the back. We're going to start with the front panel, so you want to lay that with the exterior facing up. Turn the gusset panel wrong side out, just like that. Match the center point of the front side of the zipper gusset, which is the zipper itself, with the center point of the front exterior panel, right sides together, and then pin. Match the center point of the bottom gusset with the center point of the bottom of the exterior panel, and then pin. Next, we're gonna match the seams between the zipper gusset and the lower gusset, the fourth line there, with the side notch, right sides together, of course, and then pin. Now let's repeat the same to the opposite side. Now that we've got the 4 points match, we're gonna continue pinning all around except of the corners. As usual, we're gonna hand base the corners. So I'm gonna start from the upper corners. Snip the edges of the zipper tape about 1/8 inch. This will help the fabric to relax and able to lay flat. Grab a hand sewing needle and a thread and then hand base along the corner there with simple running stitches. And if you can't get all the way to the corner, that's totally fine. The gusset panel is purposely designed to be a slight smaller to give you wiggle room if there is a little bit of mistake. Once you've secured the gusset, you want to stitch all around with 1/4 inch seam allowance. So with the gusset facing up, starting somewhere around the middle side, as you get to the corner, pay attention to your fabric. Make sure that the fabric lays flat. As you can see here, hand basting the corner area really helps to make stitching this section much easier. Now my regular presser foot here is pretty small, so I can stitch along the zipper tape area with no problem. If that's not the case for you, you may need to switch to your zipper foot when you stitch along the zipper tape. trim off any excess fabric around the corners. Alright, so you should end up with something like this. Next, we're gonna work the same to attach the back panel. So you wanna lay the back panel with the exterior side up. Unzip the zipper all the way. Now lay the gusset with the right side facing down. And just like before, you wanna pin the center points and then pin all around and then hand base the corners. And once you've done that, with the gusset facing up, you wanna stitch all around with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Alright guys, so our Bitsy bag has been assembled. So it should look just like this. Now if you want, you can turn this right side out just so you can see how it looks. Once you're happy with it, let's turn this back to the wrong side. The last step in this project will be to bind the raw edges with bias tape. You will need a single fold bias tape 3/4 inch wide. I simply use the pre-made bias tape here, but if you fancy making your own bias tape, by all means go ahead and do that. Now open the fold of the bias tape and then match the edge of the bias tape with the edge of the gusset, just like shown here. When you sew, you want to start about a couple of inches from the start of the binding, and you want to use scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you want to stitch the binding all around. And as you get closer to where you start, you want to stop about 3 to 4 inches away from the starting point. Next, we're gonna overlap the binding strip by 3/8 of an inch. So I'm just gonna eyeball it. You can certainly measure and mark it beforehand. Alright, now I'm gonna pinch the fabric right here a little bit and then secure with a clip. This will give you a little bit of extra room to overlap the strip. Now let's open all the folds and then lay the ends of the strip right sides together just like that. And then stitch in place. Use 3/8 of an inch seam allowance or the same as the overlapping width. It may be a little finicky to get this on the sewing machine, but it is doable. Finger press the seams open and then you want to continue stitching, picking up from where you left off up to the starting point. Now let's fold the binding over to the opposite side so that it will be hugging the raw edges, and then secure with some clips. Alright guys, once everything is secured, you want to finish this binding. So you can either stitch on the gusset side along the edges. So this method will be obviously quicker. Another method, which is my preferred method, is to finish the binding with hand stitching. This will give you a nice and clean finish. So you want to perform slip stitches, simply alternating picking the binding and then the fabric. When you pick the fabric though, make sure that you don't go all the way to the exterior fabric. So just pick the lining fabric. I finished binding the front side here. Now I'm going to continue binding the back side the same way. And that's pretty much it guys, the Bitsy bag is done. Now you can turn this right side out and then finger press to neaten along the seams and the sides. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and until next time, goodbye.